Sarah carefully placed leftover bread in her bag. The waitress looked around nervously before closing the container. She did not know her boss was watching from across the restaurant. Michael Harrison sat in the shadows, pretending to be just another customer. At 45, Michael owned 12 successful restaurants throughout the city. He had built his empire from humble beginnings in Kansas, but success had created distance between him and his employees. Tonight, he wanted to observe his newest Chicago location without being recognized. Sarah Mitchell moved gracefully between tables despite her worn shoes. At 28, she carried herself with quiet dignity that caught Michael's attention. Born in small-town Ohio, she had moved to the city with dreams that had not quite materialized. Her blonde hair was pulled back neatly, and she treated every customer like family. As closing time approached, Michael watched Sarah finish her duties with care. She wiped down tables thoroughly, stacked chairs properly, and helped her co-workers without complaint. But it was what happened next that truly intrigued him. Sarah discreetly packed several dinner rolls and pieces of cornbread into a small container. She placed it carefully in her worn canvas bag, checking to make sure no one was watching. Michael's first thought was employee theft, but something about her manner made him pause. Instead of confronting her, curiosity won. Michael followed at a distance as Sarah left the restaurant. The autumn rain had started again, creating puddles along the downtown streets. Sarah pulled her thin jacket tighter and walked purposefully through the wet alleyway behind the building. What Michael witnessed next stopped him in his tracks. Two small children sat huddled against the brick wall, trying to stay dry under a narrow overhang. The older child, a girl perhaps 8, held a younger boy close to her chest. Both wore clothes that had seen better days, and their eyes held the wary look of those who had known hunger. Sarah knelt down beside them, her designer uniform getting soaked by the rain-slicked pavement. She opened the container and offered the bread with the same gentle smile she had shown restaurant customers all evening. "Emma and Jake," she said softly, "I brought you something warm tonight." The children's faces lit up with pure joy. They accepted the food gratefully, and Sarah stayed with them, sharing stories and making them laugh despite their circumstances. Michael watched in the shadows, his heart pounding with emotions he had forgotten he possessed. He learned that Sarah had been caring for these homeless siblings for months. She used her own meager tips to buy them warm clothes and spent her breaks checking on them. The bread was just one small way she tried to ensure they had enough to eat. As Sarah prepared to leave, she promised the children she would return tomorrow. She kissed their foreheads tenderly, like a mother saying goodnight. The scene reminded Michael of his own childhood in rural Kansas, where his grandmother had taken in every stray animal and struggling neighbor. The next morning, Michael arrived at the restaurant before opening time. He found Sarah preparing for her shift, her movements efficient despite obvious exhaustion. She had worked a double shift the previous evening, yet here she was, ready to serve with the same warmth and dedication. "Sarah," he called gently. She turned, surprised to see a customer so early. "I am Michael Harrison," he said simply. "I own this restaurant." Sarah's face went pale. She immediately assumed the worst about the bread incident. Her job meant everything to her, not just for herself, but for Emma and Jake who depended on her kindness. "Before you say anything," Michael continued, raising his hand, "I need to tell you what I witnessed last night." He described following her to the alley, watching her care for the children with such tenderness. Sarah's eyes filled with tears, expecting termination despite her good intentions. Instead, Michael did something that surprised them both. "You embody everything I hoped to build when I started this company," he said. "Compassion, integrity, genuine care for others. I have been looking for someone to help me run our community outreach program." He offered Sarah a management position focused on connecting his restaurants with local shelters and food banks. The salary increase would allow her to help Emma and Jake properly, perhaps even provide them with temporary housing until permanent placement could be found. As the weeks passed, Sarah and Michael worked closely together. Their shared commitment to helping others created a bond that neither had expected. Sarah's authenticity reminded Michael why he had fallen in love with the restaurant business in the first place. The story of their meeting became legendary among employees. It reminded everyone that true success is measured not in profits alone, but in the positive impact we have on the lives around us. Sarah's simple act of sharing bread had revealed the kind of heart Michael had been searching for without realizing it. Sometimes the most profound connections begin with the smallest acts of kindness.